So we'll continue on with example 12. We're at the bottom of page 27. If a certain trip takes 2 hours at 50 miles per hour, how long will it take at 60 miles per hour? So we have two units here. We have hours and miles per hour. So we'll put this on top for our box. And we have trip 1 and trip 2. So in the first information, we know that it takes 2 hours at 50 miles per hour. And the second bit says 60 miles per hour, and it wants to know how long. So we'll have the X underneath the hours. Now we need to stop and think about this for a second. If our speed is going from 50 to 60, it's going up. What should happen with our hours? We're at 2 hours. Should it take longer or shorter? Well, it should take shorter, so the time should go down. Now, because these are going different directions, it is an inverse proportion. And that's important because it changes the way we set things up. This first part we leave just the same, but because it's an inverse, we have to change the second part. We have to flip it over. So we'll put 60 over 50 instead of 50 over 60. Then we'll cross multiply. 2 times 50 is 100. And 60 times x is 60x. We'll divide by 60. And that gives us 1.666 repeating. Now we're not going to leave our answer like that. We know that 666 repeating is 2/3. So we could write 1 2/3 hours. But the directions may say, well, they want hours and minutes. So if they want minutes, we have to deal with the 2/3. So let's look at that for a second. It's 2/3 of an hour, and an hour is 60 minutes. Remember, the of means multiply, so we'll change that to a fraction. And when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. If there's an equal sign between them, we multiply diagonally, or cross multiply. But if there's a multiplication sign between them, then we just go straight across. So 2 times 60 is 120. 3 times 1 is 3. And 120 divided by 3 is 40. So that tells us that we really have 1 hour. And that was because of this 1 out here in front, or this 1 out here in front. And then 40 minutes. The electrical resistance of a wire is directly proportional to its length. So that has a lot of really important information in it. We're talking about resistance and length, and it says directly proportional. So let's read on. If 1 foot of nichrome heater element wire has a resistance of 1.65 ohms, what is the length of the wire needed to provide a resistance of 19.8 ohms? So we have feet and we have ohms. So let's use that on top of our box, 2 different units. And the feet is really the length, and the ohms is really the resistance. Okay, we have 2 different wires we're looking at. The first wire says 1 foot, 1.65 ohms. So 1 foot, 1.65 ohms. The second part says we're looking for 19.8 ohms, but we don't know the length. Now this directly proportional is important because that means that it's, because it's direct, we don't need to do anything to our box. We can just set it up as normal. And then we can solve. 1 times 19.8 equals 1.65x. We'll divide by that 1.65 that's in front of the x. So 19 divided by 1.65 gives us 12. Now the 12 is underneath the feet column, so our unit is feet. In an auto cylinder, the pressure is inversely proportional to the volume if the temperature doesn't change. So here we have pressure inversely proportional to volume. if the volume of gas in a cylinder is 300 cubic centimeters, so that's the volume, it says. When the pressure is 20 psi, so it tells us the pressure is measured in psi. What is the volume when the pressure is increased to 80 psi? So we have two different units here. We have psi in cubic centimeters. It doesn't matter what order you put the units on the top. It just matters that you label it. And we're talking about two different pressures, two different cylinders. So the first part tells us that we have 300 cubic centimeters when the pressure is 20 psi. So we have 320. And here we want the volume when we have 80 psi. We don't know that. Now, inversely proportional means that we have to set it up carefully. It means that this part has to be flipped because of this inversely proportional. So we'll have 20 over 80 equals x over 300. And then we can solve like normal. 20 times 300 is 6,000. 80 times x is 80x. Divide both sides by 80. And we get x is 75. It's under the cubic centimeters, so we have 75 cubic centimeters. Inversely proportional means when the pressure goes up, the volume should go down, and it does. Pressure went up from 20 to 80, so the volume's going down from 300 to 75. If a widget machine makes 88 widgets in 2 hours, how many will it make in 3.5? So we have two units here, widgets and hours. For our box, we have two situations here. So 88 widgets in 2 hours. And we want to know how many it'll take in 3.5. I'm going to put 3.5. So let's think about this. If we take a machine and we run it longer, the time goes up. Should we get more or less widgets? Well, we should get more. So they're both going the same direction. That means this is a direct proportion, and we can set it up directly. So we have 88 over x equals 2 over 3.5. 88 times 3.5 is 308, and 2 times x is 2x. Divide both sides by 2, and we get 154. It's under the widgets, so that's our unit.